You know that feeling when you're at a dealership, just browsing, and the salesperson walks you over to a truck or an SUV and casually says, "This one's only $60,000. Like that's a totally normal thing to say to a human person? That's exactly what we're talking about today. Who can actually afford a $60,000 car in 2026? Not just afford the monthly payment, actually afford it without quietly torching their financial future in the process. Because here's the thing, $60,000 used to be a luxury car. Now, it's a Ford F-150. It's a mid-trim Tesla. It's a loaded Honda Pilot. And millions of people are buying them. So the real question is, should they be? And what does your income actually need to look like before that purchase makes sense? My name is Seb, and I have a genuinely unhealthy obsession with the math behind decisions that seem normal, but are actually kind of devastating for your net worth. Now, before we get into the math, I want to ask you something. Do you think a $60,000 car is a luxury purchase? Or do you think it's pretty normal at this point? Because here's the uncomfortable reality. The average new car in America now costs over $50,000. That's not a luxury vehicle. That's the average. And yet, auto loan delinquencies just hit a 15-year high. Almost 30% of people trading in a car right now owe more on it than it's worth. Something is very wrong here. And the answer isn't that people are just bad with money. It's that the math has completely changed. And most people don't realize it. Let's start with the monthly payment, because that's how most people think about this. When you walk into a dealership and ask about a $60,000 car, the conversation almost always ends up at the monthly payment. It's only $1,023 a month, and that number doesn't sound insane until you actually look at what it means. Here's what the math looks like. If you put nothing down, finance the full $60,000 at today's average rate of about 7% APR, and stretch it across 72 months, which is 6 years, by the way, you're paying $1,023 a month. And by the time that loan is paid off, you've handed over $73,656 for a car that is now worth maybe $32,000. Let me say that again. You paid $73,656 for something worth $32,000. The $13,656 in interest alone is essentially a used Toyota Corolla that you bought and immediately threw in a river. Now, the more financially responsible path, 20% down, 48-month loan, gives you a monthly payment of about $1,150, still over $1,000 a month. And that's before you've paid a single dollar in insurance, gas, or maintenance. Here's where it gets interesting. Add those in. Full coverage insurance on a $60,000 vehicle runs about $220 a month. Gas, roughly $185 a month. Routine maintenance, tires, the occasional repair, call it $135 a month. Now, your actual monthly cost of ownership is around $1,690 every single month for a car. That's not a car payment. That's a mortgage in a lot of parts of this country. Now, here's what nobody talks about: the income you actually need. There's a rule in personal finance called the 24-10 rule. Put 20% down, finance for no more than 4 years, and keep your total monthly transportation costs under 10% of your gross monthly income. It's endorsed by financial planners, J.D. Power, and basically everyone who isn't trying to sell you a car. Let me show you exactly how this works on a $60,000 car. 20% down is $12,000 upfront. Finance the remaining $48,000 over 48 months at 7%. Your payment is $1,150. Add insurance, fuel, and maintenance, and you're at roughly $1,690 per month in total transportation costs. Under the 10% rule, that means you need $16,900 a month in gross income to make this work comfortably. Multiply that by 12. You need to be earning about $200,000 a year. $200,000 a year for a car that Ford sells at every dealership in America. I know what you're thinking. That feels extreme. And sure, if you use a softer rule, the number comes down. Dave Ramsey says spend no more than half your annual income on all your vehicles combined, which gets you to around $120,000 in household income. NerdWallet and Edmunds put the floor at about $120,000 to $170,000, depending on how you structure the loan. Even the most generous interpretation of "can you afford this" lands somewhere north of $120,000 a year. The median American household income? $83,730. That's according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Think about it this way. Following the 24-10 rule, a household earning the median income can responsibly buy a car priced at roughly $30,000 to $35,000, not $60,000, half of $60,000. Here's what the average person does wrong. Mistake number 1. They focus entirely on the monthly payment and ignore the total cost. This is what dealers know and count on. Your brain is not wired to think in 5-year totals. It's wired to think about right now. Behavioral economists call this temporal discounting, the tendency to dramatically undervalue future costs compared to present ones. When the salesperson says it's only $1,023 a month, your brain hears a manageable number. It does not automatically calculate $73,656 over 6 years, plus $15,000 in insurance, plus $11,000 in fuel, plus $8,000 in maintenance. The total 5-year cash outflow on a $60,000 car is around $107,000. Your brain never sees that number unless you force it to. Here's what the average person does wrong. Mistake number 2. They forget about depreciation, and this one is genuinely messed up. A $60,000 car loses roughly $12,000 in value in the first year alone. That's about 20% gone before your first oil change. By year 5, you've lost around $27,600 in value just to the passage of time. The car doesn't break. It doesn't crash. It just loses value every single day. That's the part the financial industry never puts in the brochure. Let me put it a different way. Imagine taking $12,000 in cash at the end of year 1 and just handing it to a stranger. That's essentially what depreciation does to you. And with certain vehicles, especially these, the numbers are even worse. Some $60,000 lose close to 59% of their value over 5 years. You'd be sitting on a car worth about $24,600 that you paid $60,000 for. That gap is not a rounding error. That's a real financial wound. Let's talk about what's actually happening in the market right now, because it matters. In Q4 of 2025, 20% of all new car buyers signed up for monthly payments over $1,000. The average new car payment hit a record $772 a month, and some lenders are now offering loans stretched out to 100 months. That's over 8 years, just to make the payment look manageable. And here's the uncomfortable reality. Nearly 30% of people trading in a car right now are underwater on their loan. They owe more than the car is worth. The average negative equity on those trade-ins is $7,214, meaning they're rolling over $7,000 of old debt into their shiny new loan, and then wondering why they can never seem to get ahead. Auto loan delinquencies are at their highest level in 15 years. This isn't a minor blip. This is a system that has quietly broken for a huge portion of the population, and the car companies and lenders are doing just fine. Now here's what makes this worse when you look at history. In 1990, the average new car cost $14,483. The median household income was $35,353. That's a car costing about 41% of what a family earned in a year, roughly 5 months of pay. Today, the average new car costs over $50,000 against a median household income of $83,730. That's 60% of annual income, 7.5 months of pay. Car prices have risen roughly 1.4 times faster than wages over the past 3 decades. Your parents didn't have it easier because they were better with money. They had it easier because the math was different. Look, Here's the bottom line. A $60,000 car requires a household income of at least $120,000 under even the most generous financial guidelines, and closer to $200,000 under the rules that will actually keep your finances intact. The median household in America earns $83,730. That means the majority of people buying these vehicles are doing so in a way that is quietly damaging their financial health, whether they feel it immediately or not. The true $5 of a $60,000 car is around $107,000 in depreciation alone will erase $27,000 in 5 years. Interest, insurance, and maintenance will take the rest. None of this means you can never buy a nice car. It means you need to go in with your eyes open. The monthly payment is not the number that matters. The number that matters is what this decision costs you over time, and what you could have done with that money instead. A $60,000 car financed over 6 years, or $1,023 a month invested at 7% return, turns into over $86,000 in the same period. Not a car worth $32,000. $86,000 in actual wealth. The choice is yours. You can keep letting the monthly payment feel like the whole story, or you can run the full math before you sign anything. Your future self, the one who actually wants to retire someday, will thank you.